I need you to turn on the screen share and it's time because I don't want to touch it. When I say hello to them. When we can do it at 6, just so that when people come in. There you go. That'll put it back to me.
It's paused.
That means what they're saying is, wait, I can tell them something.
Yeah, I can pin.
Thank you, yes, you're good, as always. All right, I'm gonna ask him. I'm just gonna wait one more minute, everyone. Welcome tonight, and then I'll introduce our speaker and we'll get started. Oh, and I said I can unmask. Yay, freedom. Oh my goodness, for those of you who have hearing gear like I do, masks are another layer. Okay, let's get started. It's 6 o'clock here on the East Coast in New York. Welcome again to Wellness at Eastman. And we're here live again this month at the Eastman School of Music in beautiful Howard Hanson Hall in downtown Rochester, New York. I'm so excited to see so many of you join us again tonight for this monthly series on artist wellness called Wellness at Eastman. I'm Galen McCormick, and I'm the program manager for Eastman Performing Arts Medicine. And that's a collaboration between the Eastman School and the University of Rochester Medical Center. We have 4 pillars to our program, and one of them is focused on artist wellness. And that's where tonight's presenter comes into play. I've invited Rebecca Block to come in and talk about mindfulness as a crucial part of our training as artists. Rebecca is a mindfulness educator with the Mindful University Project here at the University of Rochester, but she is so much more than that. She's very, very cool. So I'm going to put my mask back on and get out of your way. But if you have questions, please drop them into Q&A and I'll make sure to relay them up to Rebecca. So please come on up.
Thank you, Galen, and welcome everyone. As Galen mentioned, my name is Rebecca Block, and I'll be talking to you all today about mindfulness for musicians. So my name is Rebecca Block. I am the health educator at the UHS Health Promotion Office on the River campus, and I direct a large initiative called the Mindful University Project. And that is why I'm here today. So just a little bit about me. I have a Master's of Science in Community Health Education. I received that in 2020. I'm a certified health education specialist. I am a certified yoga teacher, as well as a certified Koru mindfulness teacher. And that's a 4-week learn to meditate class for college populations. And I'll talk a little bit about the Koru classes and how you could take those classes at the end. So this is just an outline of what we'll be talking about today. So we'll be talking about mindfulness and what is it? We'll be talking about mindfulness for musicians, is probably why you're here, as it was the title. We'll be talking about how you can use mindfulness to decrease your anxiety and to improve your performance quality. We'll practice all together, a self-compassion practice, as well as some breath practices that you could use to help you reduce your stress before you're playing. And also I'll provide you with different resources that you can tap into at Eastman. And a lot of them are also online. And if you're a student, you can also become a student mindfulness facilitator. So these are different ways that you could leave this workshop with a plethora of different resources to continue your practice, to take what you learned. So mindfulness, what is mindfulness? So according to John Kabat-Zinn, who's a well-renowned meditation teacher, he defines mindfulness as the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. It's about knowing what is on your mind. So mindfulness is not about clearing our mind. Mindfulness is about becoming aware of what's going on in our mind without judgment, and being compassionate to your experience. And so here's some other myths that exist with mindfulness. So a lot of people believe that mindfulness can only be practiced in seated meditation, whereas that is not true. Mindfulness can be done even as I'm here at this podium speaking to you. It can be done in relationship with others. It could be done right before you practice, or maybe even on your walk to your practice room. A lot of people believe that it is religious. And so while it is commonly thought that it has been a religious practice, and it also was created in Buddhism, so it actually stems from Hinduism, which is really interesting. So there's a lot of different myths going behind mindfulness itself. And so the reason why it was brought to the United States is because Thich Nhat Hanh, also he just passed a couple of weeks ago, so he's in all of our hearts. He was a novice monk in the 1940s, and he became a global spiritual leader. And he brought mindfulness-based stress reduction to the States because he really wanted to mix the research and the science behind meditation, also with the contemplative practice. So he was really interested in the health benefits of this. And so he created an 8-week learn to meditate class called mindfulness-based stress reduction. So it's practiced in many other religions. It's practiced in Judaism, in Christianity, also in Hinduism, Buddhism, and also a ton of other communities such as Black or Indigenous communities, as well as Japanese communities. So there's many different ways that people practice mindfulness. Another myth is that people often think that thoughts and emotions are our distractions. So that is actually not true. So our thoughts and our emotions actually are part of our experience and therefore part of our mindfulness practice. And so then again, like we're just focusing on being non-judgmental to whatever arises. And then the last part is that some people believe that it is relaxing the entire time, but that is not true. Sometimes mindfulness can actually make you more alert. It can also lead to potential distress or re-traumatization. So it's really important for us to then teach in a trauma-informed lens and make sure that everybody is supported. So if you do want to take our Koru Learn to Meditate class, we also are trauma-informed to make sure that everybody has proper resources. So that's just another myth that you probably want to take into consideration, just like how you're feeling and making sure that you're being mindful in the way that is supportive for you and making sure that you're taking care of yourself. So now let's talk about mindfulness musicians, which is why you are here. So the reason why I bring up mindfulness is because a lot of people experience this thing called music performance anxiety. I'm sure you all have heard that. And according to a systematic review on the prevalence of performance anxiety amongst musicians, this study found 16.5 to 60% of musicians experience this. So that's about 1/3 of musicians. So this is a significant thing that is occurring not only within our musicians who are students, but then also the faculty and staff. And so music performance anxiety can cause a myriad of things. So this systematic review found several things. So it can cause anxiety, and it can also cause panic or stress, and also physical experiences such as stress, maybe sweating, shortness of breath, maybe dry mouth, which also is definitely not helpful when you're practicing or playing a instrument. It can also change your heart rate. So that means that your heart rate speeds up and you can become more distressed, and it may be difficult to think. And in turn, this is really important because it can impact your music performance, and it can also make you self-critical. And so all of those things we want to prevent, right? So then it's really important for us to think about how we can prevent music performance anxiety so that our performances are great. So I want to bring in some science behind mindfulness and how it changes our brain, because our brains are super powerful and there's so many different ways that we can train our brain to be the most effective. So there are different parts of the brain that mindfulness has an impact on. So there's our prefrontal cortex, which helps to regulate our emotions and behaviors. And this is our wise leader. And so it's more activated after mindfulness practice, which is helpful for regulating our emotions and our behaviors. Then second, we have our amygdala that is affected. It is aroused when we are identifying our feelings and emotions. and it's less activated following mindfulness. And so this is our security guard. This is like our fight or flight response. So the reason why this is important is because after we've practiced mindfulness, we have less stress and we're able to then think properly and act properly. And then lastly, the hippocampus helps to regulate the amygdala. So it helps to calm it down. It's like the big mom who's like the child's just a little distressed. And this is really important for learning and memory. And this part of the brain is more active and has less gray matter following mindfulness training. And so just another thing is that a meta-analysis conducted in 2014 found that meditation practices altered 8 regions of the brain. And so one of the most remarkable findings was that just after a few hours of training, they even found neuroplastic changes. So if you continue this practice, doing it regularly, maybe just for even 5 to 10 minutes a day, you'll be able to retrain your brain to help you with your performance. And so mindfulness works by changing our autonomic nervous system, which is made up of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, which you can see on the screen. So our sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight state. Our parasympathetic is our rest and digest state. And so oftentimes when we're thinking about an upcoming performance or doing practices, we can get feelings of stress and anxiety that can impact things such as our digestion, our heart rate, our sweat glands. It can even change our eyes with our dilation. And then the parasympathetic is when our bodies are more relaxed, we're able to think more clearly. And also we can then have better digestion, and meditation has been found to decrease the sympathetic nervous system and increase the parasympathetic nervous system. That's just a little bit more about the different components of our body that mindfulness impacts. And so more about the benefits of mindfulness. So it not only improves our memory and focus, it helps to reduce stress, but it also improves our academic performance, and it helps us get in a state of flow, which as musicians, I'm sure you're all well aware of that term. And it can also help to decrease our blood pressure. It can help to improve our body image and also reduce inflammation and pain, especially if you're holding an instrument for a couple hours a day or maybe even 10 hours a day. It can also be beneficial with some bodily impacts of playing. And it has some emotional benefits. So it can cultivate self-awareness and self-introspection. It can enhance your empathy and communication, can improve your ability to handle pressure, and it can also increase self-compassion. And so in the study by Fernholz and colleagues in 2019, that systematic review that I brought up earlier, they found that relaxation techniques were rated to be helpful by 12% of musicians, and deep breathing was rated to be helpful by 41 to 71% of musicians in cross-sectional studies. So the studies and the people are speaking, and they're saying that these are working. So that's really great to know, and we'll be able to then like practice together and see how this could improve your own practice. So in music, we have focused some interventions on music performance anxiety. And so in the year 2019-2020, we had a program called Tuning the Mind. We'll actually be doing another rendition of that soon. And so these are brief 1-minute guided mindfulness exercises performed during ensembles right before the start of each new piece of music. And so in this program, focus was placed on finding the breath, relaxing the body, and allowing the mind to settle. And so in this program, we evaluated it, and approximately 70% of students surveyed reported that they enjoyed their experience. And so here are just some of the quotes that we received from some of our participants. So Professor Neil Varon said that we make music on an empty canvas directly after the chaos of people entering and sitting down. Mindfulness helps us transition. And then Zeke he was a doctor of musical arts for conducting. He said that this brief meditation exercise gave us a clear starting point for rehearsal, and it allowed us to move into the flow of making music. So the participants said that it helped them find their breath, settle their minds, connect with their body, increase their focus, and also calm their nerves right before they began playing. And so that's just one way that you could practice. Mindfulness is right before a practice session or right before a audition or maybe a performance, but there are many other ways that you can practice mindfulness. So as I mentioned earlier, you can practice mindfulness while walking. So this just encompasses becoming aware of your mind, breath, and body while walking. You can also practice mindfulness while eating. And so this is a great fun way to engage in the practice. It's just taking time out to eat and engaging all of your senses, taking the phone away, even moving the computer away, actually taking that lunch break. You can also practice self-compassion, as we'll do later. And this is just extending ourselves compassion when we are having distress, maybe when our negative self-talk is getting the best of us, and just giving ourselves the same compassion we give to others. Another way that you can practice is through breath practices that we'll be doing in just a moment. You could do things such as belly breathing, there's box breathing, and 4-7-8 breathing, but there are many other different breath techniques that you could do. You could just look those up and see which one works best for you. As I mentioned earlier, you could do these during warm-ups or maybe even cool downs, especially after you've done a performance. Sometimes your body can just be in a constant fight or flight state because of just excitement, but also nervousness and wondering if people actually liked it. So it's a great way to help regulate your emotions and help get into the parasympathetic nervous system once you cool down. So right now we're just going to practice together 2 different breath practices so you can see how this feels in your body. So we're going to start with belly breathing. And so this is where we'll be breathing from our diaphragm. And so this helps us to relax our nervous system, helps us tap into our parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest state. And so the reason why this is so influential and important for us to practice is because our breath usually is in the chest, oftentimes. So let's just sit here and just begin to notice our breath, how it is showing up. Yeah, I invite you to slowly close your eyes. Maybe even have a soft gaze in front of you, just whatever feels comfortable. And just noticing where in your body your breath is showing up this evening. You may feel it in your chest, or maybe more in your belly, or maybe a good mixture of both. And now also begin to notice the cadence of your breath. So how long are your inhales and exhales without changing it, just becoming aware about how you are showing up right now. And I invite you, if it feels comfortable for you today, to place your hands on your belly. We'll begin to breathe in through our nose, feeling the belly expand, sipping in the air. Exhaling out through the nose or the mouth, feeling the hands to fall and the belly to relax. Inhaling again, feeling the belly expand like a balloon as you blow it up. Exhaling out through the nose or the mouth. And do this again on your own 3 times. And after those 3 rounds of breath, just allow your breath to go into its natural cadence. Just allow it to do whatever it wants. Your body knows how to keep yourself alive. And just check in with yourself. Notice how those several breaths felt. Maybe if anything has changed physically or even in your mind as a result of that practice. Now we'll begin to practice 4-7-8 breathing. And so just like belly breathing, this also helps us enter a more relaxed state. So what we'll be doing is inhaling for a count of 4, holding for a count of 7, and then exhaling for a count of 8. So we can begin to inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin to do that on your own. If you can't make it to hold for a count of 7 and to exhale for a count of 8, you can just do 4, 5, 6. Just meeting yourself where you are, just focusing on extending those exhales. And after your 3rd round, just begin to blink your eyes back open if they were closed. And then just checking in again with yourself, noticing how those felt in your body. And always come into these practices with the beginner's mind, that every time you practice will be a little bit different. So if you do continue practicing, you may notice that it gets easier if it was a little bit difficult today, and just extending yourself compassion if it did bring up some difficulty for you, because over time, as you practice, it will definitely become more easier and relaxing. So along with performance anxiety, this can lead to negative self-talk. And so that can honestly get in the way of a lot of us, not only in performing, but also in the real world, speaking with others, maybe in meetings or even in class. And so over the course of the day, we have approximately 70,000 thoughts. And so according to research, 80% of our self-talk is largely negative. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we can change our brains through different practices that we could do every day. And so I'm going to be talking to you about the practice of self-compassion, which just is treating yourselves with compassion in the same ways that you treat others, particularly those who may be in distress. So here's a little bit about self-compassion and the research. So I love this research. Kristen Neff actually coined the self-compassion practice and has been like a huge pioneer in this field in the research. And since 2003, there have been over 3,000 journal articles citing the benefits of self-compassion. And so there are different things that come about when you practice self-compassion, but I just want to talk about the 3 different components of it. So with self-compassion, we extend our self-kindness rather than judgment. We are mindful and we try not to over-identify with ourselves or different problems or experiences we have. We try to be non-judgmental and open to every experience we have. And then we also want to focus then on common humanity and how we are not alone in things. Oftentimes we feel that we are alone. And so common humanity can really make us feel that we have a lot of other people who are going through this, and it helps us to feel that we are able to then make a change. And so since 2003, there's been only 2 articles citing the benefits of self-compassion relating to music study. And so that study was conducted in 2019. And so they looked at college music and non-music majors, and they found that self-compassion levels remained consistent between music and non-music majors. However, there was one specific correlation detected between performance anxiety and one of the components of self-compassion, which was over-identification. And so this means that music majors often may find themselves fixating or obsessing more frequently on negative aspects of their performance. And so this means that while the research is limited, self-compassion already has been cited to have some benefits amongst music majors, helps to decrease the negative self-talk, and it could be a protective factor against music performance anxiety. So this is just some information about what currently has been done in this field. And if you're interested in learning more about self-compassion, here are the different ways that it can lead to decreased stress. I won't go into too much description because we do want to get into some practice time together. But it activates our biological nurturance and helps to help us feel soothed, and it can lead to greater well-being, and it can also relax our bodies. And it can also lead to increased productivity. And so that this can also lead to increased productivity if you're studying or maybe even performing and preparing for that performance coming up. So let's go into practicing this. So let's bring all 3 components of the self-compassion practice into our experience. So for this practice, it'll just be a couple minutes. So I invite you to find a comfortable seated position. You may find yourself with your feet firmly planted onto the ground. And if it feels comfortable today, I invite you to slowly close your eyes or have a soft gaze in front of you. And again, tuning back into the breath. Feeling the rising and falling of the belly as you inhale and exhale. You may even soften the brow and unhinge the jaw. So using each exhale to release any tension in your body. And now I invite you to think of a situation that happened recently that was on a 3 to 5 out of 10 stress level. So nothing too stressful, but maybe you sent an email that had a typo in it and you got critical of yourself, something small, but that it brought up some negative self-talk for you. Just thinking of what happened and who was there, who said what. Now I'm going to be saying some words of self-compassion, and as I say each phrase, I invite you to mentally whisper them to yourself. This is a moment of difficulty. Just honoring what is happening and labeling it as a moment of difficulty. How human of me to feel this way. And a lot of other people also feel this way. May I be kind to myself. You may even imagine that you're sitting in front of yourself like a dear friend would when they were going through a difficult time. And imagining yourself saying to you, I care about you, and I am here for you. So just on your own, go through those phrases. This is a moment of difficulty. How human of me to feel this way. And I am here for you. May I be kind to myself. When you're ready, you can slowly blink your eyes back open if they're closed. Become aware of your surroundings. And then again, like checking in with yourself. Noticing what changes you may feel in your body and your mind. Just realizing how short of a practice that was. That was about 2 minutes. And just in 2 minutes, how much that may have changed just physically and mentally in your body. So Kristen Neff on her website, she has tons of different self-compassion practices that you can engage in. If you're interested in learning more about the research, she also has a plethora of research articles on there as well. But if you do want to practice in the U of R community, there are many different resources available, not only to faculty and staff, but also to students. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm a certified Koru teacher, and we have about 10 or 11 other Koru teachers, which is really exciting. We have a ton of offerings coming up of these 4-week Learn to Meditate classes. You can sign up on rochester.edu/mindful/instruction. We also have a meditation room in the Student Living Center if you happen to live in the SLC and want to meditate. We also have student mindfulness facilitators. So we recently trained approximately 24 of them, and you'll see them on our Instagram Live, also on our YouTube. So if you're interested in practicing, and if you're a student and want to practice with your peers, this is a great opportunity for you. And also if you're a student and want to become a mindfulness facilitator and want to probably like lead those ensemble meditations, or maybe even go on our Instagram Live or lead a session maybe in your dorm or with a student group. This would be a really great opportunity for you. And it will be coming up on February 19th, which is a Saturday, and it'll be happening from 11 to 12:30. So if you are a student and you're online, you can use this QR code to sign up. But if not, and no worries, we will also have more information in the Upbeat and some other places that you'll get emails from. So if you're interested in learning more about the research that I use for this presentation, I have provided the references. And I just want to say thank you all for having me. This was such a great time. And I'm really excited just to be able to offer my experiences and to share some wisdom that I have. So if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to drop some questions in the chat. And if not, you can also email me. My email is rblock@uhs.rochester.edu. So thank you so much.
Before we wrap up, I'd love to ask you a question, if you
Yes.
don't mind. It was so interesting to me that in 2 minutes, we could have such a change. What is the resistance you see to people wanting to take up a practice?
So I see this a lot with U of R students. Also for all of you who may not know, I also graduated from U of R in 2018. I did not go to Eastman. I did have some Eastman friends, but just the culture is like, if you focus more on academics and on your performance, you think that it's going to get better. So oftentimes your time is so limited that you just want to focus on that one thing to really like hone in on it and perfect it. But the research has shown, not only for academics, but then also for then music performance, that taking those brief couple minutes out can actually be beneficial and help you get to your end goal.
Fantastic. May I come with you?
Yes.
I think that is, would paradox be the right word? Is the paradox that taking time actually can create better outcomes than powering through. And I think that's a very challenging one for us to work with as artists, that similar, we cannot keep, I see one of my piano professors here, we cannot keep just practicing all day long, even if we physically could. It's not, you have diminishing returns if you don't provide this time. These practices you gave us are so simple and so doable. That's my professional word tonight, doable. I'm so grateful for you for taking the time to come over here and share this with us. I'm really excited to have us test out the tuning the mind. Can I tell them the name? Okay, we've been playing with the idea of the grand pause. Maybe we'll put that in, that might be the name of the project now, but to test this out some more, it really did make a substantial change in the energy on stage. I was present for those when another facilitator was leading them. Well, thank you for coming. Thank all of you for coming tonight, and all of you on Zoom. We will meet again in March on the 16th, and we'll be talking about mental health and music school. And I'm excited that we're going to have an Eastman alum. She's a triple alum. She got all her degrees from here. It's Dr. Mary Knapvig, and she's now teaching at Bowling Green State University. And she's making a real niche for herself in music health and depression with music students, and how we can intersect there and how we can help change the culture. And I'm pretty sure we can agree this is something that is definitely worth focusing on, especially now in the era of COVID. I just want to thank all of us here at the Eastman School for supporting this program. That's technology and media production. And of course, my Dean, Jamal Rossi, and over at the Medical Center, Dean Mark Taubman, Dr. Mark Taubman, excuse me. So thanks so much for coming, everyone. Please stay safe, and I'll see you in March. Good night.